Hi, it's Steve, Sailing Allison. So, after last week's successful test of the motor out in the bay here in Scarborough, it's back to the hard grind of getting her fixed up. So, next thing I want to do is get some things done which will give me greater confidence when we're out sailing in the bay. First thing on the agenda this week is to mount the grease driver thingy that pushes grease into the stuffing box. I just need to change the way that it's mounted on its little metal bracket and then mount that bracket onto the bulkhead. It should be fairly simple. Right, here we go. That's it in position. Unfortunately, I didn't quite manage to finish the job because there are two holes here, and weirdly this one doesn't quite go all the way through to the other side. These holes were already there and drilled and appear to be quite fortuitously the right distance apart. I haven't got my electric drill on me, it's up at the house, so I'm going to have to wait till next time when I bring the drill down. So there's the spare bolt. But that's where it's going to be, fits quite nicely. Right, I've managed to attach a backing plate to this, which is the first RCD after the input from the shore power. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this surface and the surface which is here, which I have already sanded down, and then I'm going to use some thickened epoxy to glue it. I've got some pieces of wood which are about the right size to wedge it in place. For cleaning, I've got this, which is a kind of bucket that's full of little tissues which are infused with acetone. Normally I don't like buying this kind of stuff, but of course you've got to use the acetone for the cleaning anyway, and you need to put it on some kind of tissue, so I thought buying the two together was probably a lot safer. Of course you have to wear gloves because acetone is quite nasty on your hands, even though they use it as nail polish remover, but yeah, best to be safe. There we go, I've got the back slathered in thickened epoxy, wedged in place with that piece of wood there. So I'm going to leave it till tomorrow, and hopefully that will be nice and firm. It's the next day now, on a very windy day, as maybe you can hear in the background. Let's see how my gluing has worked. Get this out. Looks pretty good to me. And this is stuck as well as I suspected it might be. Excellent. Right, I can turn it back on now. There we go. Seems all right. The next thing I want to do is put some cable ties around the cables so that I can run them neatly wherever they need to go. The problem is that the cable ties are like self-adhesive and they don't adhere very well to the fiberglass at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of clean up the surface with my Dremel, with like a bit for you know, sanding I suppose, and then clean it with some of that acetone, one of those acetone pads, and then use some thickened epoxy, which should do the job. Obviously when I have to move them I'll have to chisel it off, but I'm not planning to do that for quite a while. seems to do the job.
Hi there. We were supposed to be racing today, but there's too much wind, and it was the same yesterday actually. Too much wind again. Ironic, you know, we've just gone through apparently the least windy section for years and years over here on the east coast, and now I've got the boat ready to at least go out in gentle weather. Then we're back to kind of 5, 6s, even 7 to 8s at times. Anyway, gives me an opportunity to do some more bits on the boat. Though last time I filmed something, I was attaching some of these cable ties pads to the sides of the boat to run the cables more neatly. Here is the stuff that I did the other day. That one's stuck quite nicely. This one, yeah, that's not. It's the glue has kind of dripped through a bit. So I think I obviously need to make it stiffer. I think the other thing is that I need to just cut these cable ties because the weight of the wire is obviously pulling them down. But that one's fine. So I think I just need to put a little bit more glue behind there and that will work fine. The other thing that I've been turning my mind to is bonding the propeller and prop shaft to a zinc, because I don't want my expensive new prop to be eroded by galvanic action as a sacrificial anode. So I need to make sure that it's attached to a zinc. Now, most of the time, the way that that is done is that you have a little zinc collar which goes on the prop shaft right next to the propeller. But because of the design of Allison, there isn't enough room to do that. So I'm trying to find some other way of doing it. What I want to do is check whether there is an electrical connection between here, the prop shaft, and this obviously goes out straight to the propeller, and the other side of the prop shaft here beyond the flexible coupling. So see if there is an electrical connection there, and then see whether it goes onto the motor and also onto this mounting plate. Right, so if I put that together, yeah, that seems fine. So, one end onto the prop shaft, the other end just onto here. Now that's great because that's 0.7 ohms, and if I put the two directly together, I actually get 0.6 ohms. So basically it's as close to a short as makes no difference. Now that's great because what that means is that I can run a earthing cable from here. I'll probably attach it to this bolt, and then the zinc is just over there, so I can just run it through. The other thing that's good about that is that it means if I get some kind of fault here and the live cable, one of these cables, actually shorts to this casing, then I'll get an earth current flowing which should blow the fuses. So that means that it will make the whole lot safer, because if I didn't do that, there'd be a chance of, if there was any fault with the motor, there'd be a chance of getting a shock. So that actually solves two problems in one, which I'm really, really pleased about. Well, it isn't often that something turns out to be easier than you expected. I managed to solve two problems at once. The first one, connecting the prop and the prop shaft to a zinc, and the second one was grounding the motor case so that, you know, in the case of a short, then the fuse will blow and nobody's going to get hurt. So I've run the wire from the motor mounting plate through to the zinc, and the only thing that's stopping me finishing the job today is I've run out of M10 nuts, but that's easily solved. So all in all, a pretty good day. Hi there, it's a lovely crisp morning here in Scarborough. Autumn's definitely arrived. Nice and cool, but a little bit of sun around, so it's really nice. So the nylock nuts have arrived. So what I'm going to do today is finish off connecting the earth strap in, which is going to protect the motor. If the motor goes live, then hopefully a fuse will blow. And also it will connect the prop and prop shaft through to the zinc. So that should eliminate any chance of corrosion in that path. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check the alignment of the motor and the motor plate, because what I'll do is I'll take off the nuts that are already there and then replace them with the nylock nuts, and I'm sure that there'll have been a little bit of bedding in with me running the motor for the first time, so I'm going to check that alignment as well. Right, so I have disconnected the two halves of the flexible coupling here, and also taken these mounting bolts off. What that allows me to do is slide this forwards and just look for any movement in the flexible part of the coupling. This is different from the way that they advise you do it. So there are these plastic locking things that you can put in behind here which lock it straight, but I didn't find that the best way of aligning the tool. It's better just to sort of slide it into place, and then you can see any slight movement in the flexible coupling. I think this still looks pretty good, certainly you know, as close as I'm going to be able to get it. So I'm just going to put all of the bolts, the mounting bolts, back in place now and do this lock back up, and I think we're good to go. Okay, we've got the ground thing, what do they call it, a bonding strap there now, and on the other side I've got nylock nuts, and there's the other side of the bonding strap slash earth connector. The other thing that I have managed to do is, I think, get this packing gland properly adjusted. So what you're supposed to have is a drip coming out around about once every 30 seconds. And that's when it's running, so it's not supposed to drip at all when it's not running. I've got it dripping about one every 12 to 15 seconds, which is fine by me. So I'm just going to tighten up the lock nuts now, and that will be job done.